We're here on the River Thames today in Oxford. We've been following Tom Hobbs through the 3-day Thames Festival. Today's the third and final day of the festival, and Tom's already got 2 section wins under his belt. There's 2 other anglers on 2 section wins as well. Now today Tom is on peg 18 on the Sandford section, otherwise known as Littlemore. It's red hot again today. Temperature's nearly 30 degrees, not a cloud in the sky, very, very windy. Doesn't look it on camera, but it's very windy. It's going to be tough for all of the competitors today. Tom has set up lots of kit, and I mean lots of kit. He's got 7 pole rigs, 3 whips, 3 waggler rods and a bollo rod. Speaking with Tom, he said because it's the 3rd day of the festival, he doesn't know how it's going to fish, so he wants to be able to cover every eventuality. With this being a match today, we're going to keep right back from the water's edge, as the water is very clear and the bank behind Tom is very high, so we're worried about skylining him. So that's it, day 3 over. With this sun and the windy conditions, it's been a tough match all round. Just while we're waiting for the scales to come, we're going to ask Tom just to run us through day 1 and day 2 of his festival. So Tom, day 1, how did it go?
So on day 1 I was on peg 3 at Abingdon. I started off short knowing it was going to be quite hard. Caught some bleak, and then underneath the bleak it's got quite good underneath the bleak. Then it's all got a little bit a bit more difficult. I had to chase the fish out, and then eventually caught on hemp long, maggots as well. A section sort of chasing them out, just keep on chasing them. That's what I had to do. Really hard day, but managed to win the section with 11 pound 5 ounces.
So you caught bleak short, you then went underneath the bleak and you caught roach.
Yep.
Some nice stamp roach I saw as well.
Yeah, there was I mean, some of them was only just swingers, really.
Yeah, that is good. Yeah, they are decent stamp. Pike trouble?
Wasn't too bad, the pike. I think I'm C1 actually, so that's good. But I think you probably do want a little bit of pike trouble, because it means that the stamp fish are there sometimes.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I heard a few anglers further down said they had some pike trouble as well. And then you chased them out, and then you caught roach again on hemp a bit longer.
Yep, roach on hemp long at 13 metres, and then maggots. I actually caught half depth as well even on maggots, because once the bleak had sort of gone, they wasn't a problem at all, and I could put any bait through the peg and just kept on nicking fish, really.
Fantastic. And 11 pound 5 won you the section?
Yes. Yep, won the section.
Surprised from where you drew to win the section, or?
It was an averagey okay. Yeah, I was quite happy with that. It's anywhere in A section, I think you've got half a chance. And going into the first day, nobody really knew where the fish was actually going to be. They could have been anywhere, you know.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, I was happy with that.
Great start. Just the start you need.
Yeah.
So day 2 took you to what section?
I was on peg 15 at Culham.
15 at Culham. And how did that pan out?
Not at all the way I expected it to.
Okay.
I was expecting some bleak short, and then exactly the same, you know, underneath the bleak, and then as they backed off to go long, but it never happened. I never had a bite off a bleak, never had a bite on a whip underneath the bleak. Went long trying to catch roach, couldn't get bites at all, and I ended up short lining for bleak at 13 to 16 metres. 13
to 16 metres catching bleak.
Yeah.
That was a busy match then.
Very busy. An arm ache.
I know you ended up weighing £4.12, was it?
£4.12, yeah, that's right.
£4.12, and another section win?
Yes, yes, it was a great 2 days.
You felt like you did a great escape with those 2 results from those 2 pegs?
Yeah, especially on the second day. First day, I was happy with the draw. It's okay. All of that section's okay, but the second day I really wasn't happy with the draw. Being sat in the shade, I think, really didn't help either. For the bleak, that's why I couldn't catch them short. They do want some sun.
Yes.
That's why I had to go so long, because they were just sat at 13 metres.
So today takes us to the Sandford section?
Sandford section, yep, and I drew peg 18. Not a great draw. Not really happy with it today. There's some good anglers on some better pegs a little bit further down, so we'll see what happens. I think
got your work cut out.
Yeah, I think so. There's a couple of really good anglers down there, but hopefully we can just sneak a result.
So scales have just gone. 5 pounds 15 ounces 12 drams. You must be happy with that from this peg.
Quite happy with that, yeah. I thought it was a real struggle off the peg, to be honest, and as you can see, it's not very nice, is it? The bank's horrible.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
I wasn't quite sure whether to get in or sit on top of the bank, but you had to, because of the flow is so far away. I had to get in. and it was silty and horrible and just uncomfortable, not very nice at all.
Yeah, you looks like a cliff face straight down. You did very comfortable in the end actually, so yeah, you did well. Well, there's six anglers left to weigh. You're winning the section up to now, so a midway finish should get you in the top 5 anyway.
I think so, yeah, I hope so. I think it will, which would be a good result, because like I always said, I don't really want to, you know, be level on points and lose out on weight. Not again, it hurts too much.
Understandable, understandable. So today, how's today gone? I see you started short again, but it just didn't happen.
Started short and it just hasn't happened. I didn't really think it was going to happen short, but I was just trying to cover some options, you know, because you don't really have to invest too much time into it. You can just have a quick go and you know if they're there or not. A little bit too weedy, no flow. Started on some bleak stuff, didn't happen at all. Went underneath the bleak, nothing there at all either. I balled in, I think 8 balls of ground bait short. Not too much in it again, just kept on topping up, thinking that it would just drag in a few fish, but again it hasn't happened. I quite quickly had to have a go on to the chop short, which I wasn't planning on. Not a bite either.
So the chop worm today, it just hasn't gone, has it?
Not at all. All 3 days it's just not kicked in. It can only be the clear water. I said today when I did put it in that I didn't really fancy it was actually going to work. I was just doing it because you got to put some in somewhere. But all 3 days no one's really caught on the chop. There's been the odd big perch caught, but no one's had any sort of a weight of perch at all.
Yeah, it's surprising because this stretch especially is known for bonus fish on the chop worm.
Absolutely, yeah. There's some giants in here.
Yeah, and you've got a lovely tree as well, a lovely looking tree just downstream that looks like it does hold a fish, but bright sunshine, clear river, just not worked. No,
not at all. It's been a complete waste of time, to be honest, this week.
So the only big perch actually I've heard of today was Charlie Gooch on peg 1. He's had a 3-pounder.
Yeah, that's it. That has been the only one for 3 days, I would say, that I know of anyway. I'm sure there's been the odd smaller one caught, but the chop worm's just been a waste of time this week. It's always a banker for a few bites, but this week it just hasn't worked at all.
You normally put it in, are you normally feeding dendras or lobbies or with casters, or how do you normally?
Yeah, a load of dendras and some casters. I always bring a kilo of worm and 2 pints of casters, and I usually get through all of it.
Just bait dropper in it, yeah?
Just dropping it in, yeah. Always aim to get through it, because you set a trap with it, don't you? You know, you put it in, you haven't really got to put a great deal of time into it. You just go on it occasionally and hopefully snare one, but it hasn't. I wish this week I wouldn't have put it in, to be honest, because it's just been a waste of time.
It's taken you away from what you should be doing.
Yeah, it has. Yeah. Although I haven't committed long to it at all, knowing that you don't need to. You know, if you feed every line right, you've only ever got to be on for 5 minutes at the most. So I have spent 5 minutes on it today, but even then, it's 5 minutes wasted.
Yes.
We got forced into going long very, very quickly, a lot quicker than what I wanted to. I never cupped in ground bait there to start with. I just cupped in some hemp and some casters, because I looked really just to feed hemp on that line and catch on the hemp and tears.
How far out's this? 13, 14?
13 and a half.
13 and a half.
13 and a half. I tried to spread the bait about a little bit just so as I could sort of fish everywhere and just nick a few fish off. Because the water's so clear, I knew they were just going to spook.
Yeah. What sort of depth did you have on that 13 and a half metre line?
4 foot.
Oh, still shallow as that?
Still very, very shallow. 4. It was beginning to deepen off a little bit to the waggler line, which was maybe 5 actually, maybe 5. So on the long pole, I've had the odd fish, but it was never ever really right until later on in the match, actually, when I put some ground bait in. But the stamper fish are too small on ground bait. Hemp and tears is always the best way to go down here. So I had to go on to the waggler quite quickly, as I say, probably after half an hour I was on it, and really I wasn't planning on going on it for an hour and a half if I could, because I planned on having a bit of a start on the whip and the pole. So again, that hasn't really happened. Nothing's gone to plan. I set up 2 wagglers, a shallow and one for lagging on really. Started off on double maggots, just picked off the very, very odd tiny roach. No stampers at all. I think probably the biggest fish I've had all day is 3 ounces, maybe 3 ounce roach, maybe 4 ounces.
Hardly a bonus, you'd call.
Hardly a bonus, yeah. You'd miss so many bites until you got to that point.
Yep.
It almost wasn't worth it, but you couldn't get a bite on anything else.
What sort of depth did you have on that waggler line?
It's 5 foot. It was 5 foot.
So fractionally deeper than your pole line.
Only just, yeah.
Right, so the initial bombardment short didn't work, you've gone onto your chopworm line, it didn't work, you've gone onto your long pole line, it didn't work, waggler wasn't working. What goes through your mind when you're on plan 5 already?
I didn't know. I just had to force something, I had to commit to something. What I ended up doing was separating my pole and my waggler line, if that made sense. So I fed my waggler line a lot longer, probably another 10 metres further on across the river, to try and make both a little bit more productive.
So you started down the middle on the waggler and now you're fishing 3/4 of the way across?
3/4, yeah.
Okay.
3/4, and my hope was that it might make the pole line a little bit stronger and the waggler line a little bit stronger, and it has to a degree. It has worked. As I say, when I topped up the ground bait on the pole, it did get me a few little runs of fish, just 3 or 4 roach, and it was the only way I could actually put anything worth catching in the net at times. But the one thing that has probably saved me a little bit today was the bollo.
Yes, I noticed that.
Yeah, I had a bollo set up, again laying over. I actually had to drag the bulk, which was the best way to get bites today, was to drag the bulk down to a foot away from the hook, which is completely wrong, but it's worked.
So you're bombing it in a sense through the small fish, the nuisance fish, the bleak, get it down to those better fish at the bottom.
Yeah, it's all I could do to get a few bites. I would say my bulk was 6 to 8 inches off the bottom, so I had a little bit of line on the bottom as well. Sometimes the float popped up out of the water when it was being held up by a roach.
Yes.
And other times, I mean, you would still catch the odd bleak and the odd little tiny chublet, but it was better than anything else, far more productive, and I could cast it everywhere across the river. I mean, above the feed I had a few fish as well. 5 metres past my feed, I was just picking off fish from everywhere. I had a few little goes on the waggler as well as keep on having a bit of a go on the pole, just nicking the odd fish everywhere. I had a couple of little runs on a waggler when I'd have 4 or 5 fish on a tear in as many chucks and not miss any bites, and you think it's really going to begin to happen, and then it just doesn't. They spooked. I don't know what was wrong. I think it was just the clear water. Then you start missing bites again. I've begun probably an hour to go. The hemp and tears on the waggler really was getting good, and I've probably had 10 better fish on it, slightly better fish. I mean, they still wasn't the quality that we needed, but I felt I was beginning to catch up a little bit, because I know people was all struggling really late on in the match. We've had loads and loads of boats come through all of a sudden, loads of rowers, loads of boats, and although I know everybody had them, it's just moved them somewhere else. So they've just gone up into the next peg, and he's had 10 in 10 chucks at the end.
The roach that you were catching,
yeah,
just moved
I
up.
think
There's
that's what's
something
happened.
disturbed them.
Yeah, I know everyone had the boat problems, but they've just moved them somewhere else.
Has the wind been a problem today? I mean, in typical match fashion, the wind has now decided to drop, but early on it was really blowing.
It was really blowing. More so, the problem for me has been the tree above me. So when I was spraying my hemp across the river in the casters, I wanted to have sort of 2 stabs to be able to strike twice.
Miss a bite, let it go.
Miss a bite, let it go. But I just couldn't, because the tree above me, every time I struck, the waggler or the bollo comes straight up towards you. You just couldn't fish it properly.
It was noticeable today just how much hemp you were actually giving it on that bollo line.
Yeah, I've really given it some, especially after the first couple of hours when it wasn't really going to plan, and I was chasing it a little bit, and I felt that I had to commit to it now. I'd say I've fed 3 to 4 pints throughout the course of the day.
As much as that?
Yeah, and I was really spreading the bait around so as I'll catch everywhere around the peg. As well, when you're feeding that much, you're going to spread it around, to be honest.
And with this wind as well, I mean, I know the wind's dropped again now, but with the wind, it really was. But it was notable, you were chucking your bollo to the far side of the river, then 3/4, then this side, then down the peg, up the peg.
Yeah, 17-foot acolyte, chucking it everywhere. I could just flick it right down the river to almost on top of the next man at times to get a few bites, right above the feed, right past the feed, right in the middle, straight down the middle of the river. I was chucking it around everywhere, just nicking a few fish everywhere, really, really easy.
And that was probably the problem when all the boats came through, all the rowers, the fish probably just moved up fractionally further and into the next peg, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think that's what's happened. Say everybody has had the boat trouble, and the rowers, but I felt they'd settled in my peg, and it's just pushed them somewhere else, unfortunately.
Yeah. So £5, 15 ounce, 12 drams. Did you expect that sort of weight today, given that teammate Darren Scott had £20, just a few pegs down there downstream yesterday?
Yes, I would say probably. I knew it was going to be a bit of a struggle. Maybe not quite as much as what it has proved to be today. Good angler, Darren, as well. I really fancied him to catch that yesterday because he's committed to the waggler, hemp and tears all day, and he's been sat on a few big ones. He's done really well. It
was a lovely net of redfins, it really was.
Yeah, it was. He's done really well. I was expecting the weight for it. I knew it was going to be a struggle. I was hoping when I come to the beg for sort of maybe £7 really. That's what I had in my mind, but just not quite got there today.
Yeah, well, £5.15. It's almost £6. It might be enough.
Hopefully so. Yeah, I think it could be, just to hopefully get in the top 5. That would be nice.
Top 3 or 4 in the section would get you in the top 5. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty confident. So I think what we'll do, we'll finish packing up, and then we'll help you back with your stuff, because it's a long walk across these fields to get to this bag, and we'll wait for the results to come in.
Excellent.
Fantastic today, Tom. Well done.
Thank you.
Right, Tom, the results are in. Your £5 15 ounce 12 drams today has got you 4th place, not only in the section today, but overall in the Thames Festival. Congratulations, mate.
Thank you. Really, really happy with that after the draw. I was a little bit worried when I got there. The bank was horrible, so to get just scrape a 4th, really, I'm really, really happy with.
It's fantastic. It's proven your persistence today, especially at a time when you were catching the small fish. You never gave up. That has been the difference in your section today between 4th and 6th. So you must be really pleased with that.
Yeah, really happy. I think the small fish, a lot of people probably, they were doing their best to ignore them, you know, because they are a small stamp for down here, but to get that 4th place is really, really good. Really, really happy.
So 4th place overall, given the calibre of the anglers in this actual Thames Festival this year, you must be made up with that.
Absolutely, really happy. I mean, you've got a former world champion, you've got current internationals, quite a few of them, 3 or 4 local anglers, which I consider to be some of the best anglers in the country, all-round anglers, and especially on this Thames, they're all but unbeatable, you know, tremendous anglers. So really, really happy in the field. It's the best the event's ever seen.
Fantastic. It must make you whet your appetite for next year.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm going to win it next year.
Fantastic. We can't wait, and we'll have the cameras here watching as well.
Excellent. I look forward to it.
Fantastic, Tom. Well done.
Thank you. We thought he was. He kept grinning, but I wasn't sure.
Right, there's a boat coming. I'll just stop this.